Okay everyone, now it's time to do something brand new on my channel. We're going to talk about VHS tapes and old logos, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to share you all the things that I've seen in my childhood and some things that I've seen recently. We're going to first off talk about VHS tapes and old logos, so first, let's talk about what I've seen about VHS tapes throughout my whole life ever since I was a kid. Okay, so from what I've heard, VHS tapes have been around since the mid-70s, and they've started losing good sales in the late 90s when DVDs were announced, and the late 90s was when I was born. So VHS tapes were still popular in the early 2000s, and there was a debate whether it was Aragon or History of Violence that was the last VHS to ever be released in North America. So what about my childhood? Well, it's quite simple. I grew up with the VHS tape ever since I was very little. One of the very few first VHS tapes I've ever owned was the first Blue's Clues Arts and Crafts VHS, and a couple Disney VHS tapes like Fun and Fancy Free, Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, and then there was some other VHS tapes like Balto, Spider-Man, and a few others, and I think I also watched a few lesser-known movies like The Little Rascals and Angels in the Outfield, and I think I also saw the first Scooby-Doo on VHS as well when I was little. I've been through a lot of movies, and just recently I started recording VHS tapes when I record gameplay footage when I was back in middle school. I was just really big into VHS tapes, including watching WWE pay-per-views on VHS as well. I'm just really a big fan of it. Alright, so it's also no surprise that my very first video on YouTube happens to be my VHS collection. However, it was in slideshow form because back then I didn't have a camera or a phone by that time, so I decided to show you all my VHSs in slideshow form. And some of you all who've seen my other videos, you probably have already seen me talk about these movies, whether it was on a review or just showing you all what I got. Maybe one day I could show you all my VHS tape collection again, or digitally remaster this video with a new song, maybe a karaoke version of Ordinary by Train, and, making the pictures even clearer to avoid copyright infringement, because back then I didn't know about copyright. And plus, I was still obsessed with VHS tapes when this video was out. I was non-stop recording stuff on VHS tapes. I just couldn't get enough of it. I really couldn't. Back then, I was just so obsessed with it. Another thing I love about VHS tape would have to be the telephone dial. Did you just hear that? It's only on Disney VHS tapes and very rarely on Warner Brothers VHS tapes. Here it goes again. Did you hear that? That beep? Oh, and remember when I made a video of just a clip of the angry video game nerd breaking the VHS copy of Ninja Turtles 3? Well, that's exactly how I felt trying to review the movie Glitter, the Mariah Carey movie. I did not like it at all. It was one of the biggest pieces of crap that the whole Hollywood industry has ever done, and Mariah Carey should have thought better. She's one of my favorite singers of all time, and she should have done a lot better. I'm sorry, but I review the soundtrack, and I can't review the movie. Screw it, I'm out of this clip. Okay, we better wrap this up real quickly. We're going to talk tiny bit about VHS tapes one more time. All I have to say is that it was really big. I'm so surprised that people sometimes still talk about it, but I think it'll always be remembered. Period. Now let's move on to the logos. Alright, so I have a long history of logos. As a kid, I never saw the PBS logo, but recently I've seen it in a lot of YouTube videos. I can see why it's scary. Same goes for a few others, but when I was younger, I had a lot of fear with the Columbia logos, mainly the old one from the mid-70s through early 80s, and let's not forget about the Columbia TriStar Home Video logo from throughout the 90s. I was scared of those logos when I used to watch TV. Hoo-hoo! I was scared. I always walked out of my room whenever I watched Milo and Otis and a few other movies. In my opinion, I felt like that little girl right there. I was scared. I closed my eyes and covered my ears. But luckily I faced my fears a few years ago, and many people think that Paramount was the scariest logo. No. It's not the scariest. I ignored it every time I watched Blue's Clues. It's a good thing that scary logos aren't as common as they used to back in the 70s through 90s. Nowadays, logos are a lot more modern and contemporary and not as futuristic and scary and creepy as they used to. That's why I was born at a different generation. If I was born in the 70s or early 90s, I would have been scared a lot more of logos, but thank God I was born in the late 90s, when we get to see some more bigger and better logos by bigger studios. And since that the VHS is gone, now we don't have to put up with all these scary logos and just see the regular, soothing, relaxing logos like the Warner Brothers home video logo. That's pretty cool. Alright, so that's all I have to say for you all. So let me know if you grew up with VHS tapes and had a fear of logos when you were little. Just make sure to comment and subscribe and stay tuned. So peace out, rock on, have a nice day.